Jason Aaron and Javier Garron reveal the origins of Avenger Prime as the being makes his presence known on the battlefield against Mephisto. Jason Aaron finally reveals what the deal is with Avenger Prime, exploring this Loki's backstory and how he came to be. Beyond explaining how this Loki discovered why the Avengers are needed, I like that it took elements from Aaron's run on Thor and his previous times he's wrote Loki, exploring a deeply lonely and tragic being who constantly is trying to figure out why his life is so empty and unfulfilling. Tying that back into the Avengers existing and being the thing that gives a Loki a purpose is so good, and then applying that to a multiversal scale is a lot of fun. Again though, the only part that doesn't really get explained is how Loki got away from Mephisto during their first battle a couple of issues ago, only giving us hints that maybe something is not right with his story in that regard, since after all, this is Loki, the god of mischief and lies, so probably bending the truth here and there for some certain things. Javier Garron continues to depict the story with his lovely, bright and colourful, grand-scale artwork, working his magic to visually tell Loki's story. It was a lot of fun to see all of these familiar Loki elements and have them applied in an interesting way, and that on top of the great detail Garron goes into when filling out these pages with just dozens of unique characters and multiversal Avengers. It just really sells the whole scale of the event. The Avengers issue 65 finally revealed the beginnings of Avenger Prime, drawing on some key Loki moments from Aaron's previous work, along with some of the usual villain to hero tropes to make for a pretty compelling origin story. I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. The Avengers issue 65 finds Loki begin his part of the story, finding that the happiest moment of his life was when his brother died. He remembers how he would try and kill Thor when they were babies, but in the end, Thor died trying to tame his hammer. Loki finds Thor's burned up hand clutching Mjolnir, and as the years passed, Odin grew more distant thanks to his son's death, so Loki supplanted him as the All-Father and made Odin a slave to the Frost Giants. He thought that this would be the most joyous day ever, but he could only muster a chuckle or two. He pondered why, despite all he has, he felt completely empty. To learn why, Loki summons multiversal versions of himself to try and befriend them and learn from them, but it always ended the same way with them trying to kill him, as is the way of the Lokis. Loki continues his search across the multiverse, but all he found was one Loki's failure after another. He found that they always lost, mostly to a group called the Avengers. He found that the Avengers would always assemble together to fight Loki, but once they beat him, the Avengers never went away, and no Loki ever won anything ever again. So Loki comes up with a plan for no more Avengers. Loki gets to work, imprisoning Mjolnir to ensure Thor would never rise, giving the frozen Captain America to the Ice Giants for safekeeping, imprisoning Tony Stark in an Asgardian prison, raiding and sacking Wakanda, killing all of the Kree half-breeds in the galaxy, and sending every Ghost Rider to the mines of Muspelheim. Loki continues to kill all of those he would someday feel the need to avenge, but then he realizes too late that all he did was do what all Lokis do. He found a way to lose, as thanks to destroying the Avengers, he forgot that it wasn't just Loki they would assemble to fight. Thanos, Gore, Galactus, and the Celestials, and many more gods and god killers all came together in a never-ending torrent against the universe, leading to its destruction thanks to no Avengers. Loki still managed to win against them, pushing his sorcery to its limits and beyond. Despite that, he was still the only living being left in a dead universe, and while he won, he was alone. Loki found though that the happiest moment in his life was when he decided to throw himself into the sun, burning under its heat. Loki, however, found himself transported to the God Quarry, where all lost gods go to die. Loki did feel that he belonged there, so he bowed down before the fossilized piles of gods and prayed to them, hoping that they would give him oblivion that he rightly deserved. Loki, however, was struck down by the gods, told that he would not have peace until he served his penance. A penance he found was to be filled with irony, as he had to gather Avengers to build the Avenger Tower at the God Quarry, learning that it was up to him to assemble the mightiest Avengers of all infinity. While Loki finally does this, he confesses to his Avengers his crimes, and while some wished him dead, others wanted him to man the tower forever as a prison sentence. The Avengers came and went over the eons, as did his Deathlocks, and now Loki finds himself needing to make contact with the Avengers of a particular universe. He dons a Thor helmet helmet, hoping that this universe's Thor can take a joke, as in the present, Doom above all unleashes his Doom Wave upon the God Quarry, but Loki easily wipes them all out with the winds of Watum from 4 different universes. Loki meets with his Avengers, who want to be sure that he really is Avenger Prime. Elisiv makes it known that they don't trust a Loki, and Loki knows to make them believe him, he needs to begin with the truest words he could ever speak. Before he can speak though, he is doubled over in pain, having been wounded by one of Mephisto's daggers. He pulls it from his back, telling the team that he traveled to the universe 616 to try and help its Avengers defend its Genesis point, but he was attacked by a horde of Mephistos. The heroes ask how he lived, but even Loki doesn't know the answer to that. He remembers back and how the Mephisto gloated over the defeated Avenger Prime, telling him that no matter how many members of the Council of Red he kills, they will win. Loki blows the Mephisto up, but he's overcome with the pain of the hundreds of daggers and swords stuck in him. Mephisto tells him to remove his mask and reveal himself, but Loki wants to explain a little first, as back in the present, Thor's granddaughters still refuse to trust Loki. They tell the other Avengers that they heard for centuries of the heartbreak Loki brought to their grandfather King Thor, who endured it all in hopes that Loki could be redeemed somehow. Loki knows that when Thunderers are involved, it's best to bring gifts, and he has. More Mephistos appear, and the Avengers hope that these gifts can fight demons. Loki opens a portal, introducing the Avengers of Forever to the Avengers of Earth 616.